Seeing how it is 5:30, we'll call the meeting to order and get a roll call.
Ketchel.
Here.
Singer. Here. Parker.
Here.
Henry.
Here.
Stanek. Excused.
Alan.
Yep, Jim Allen. Meyer. Didn't hear from either one of them. So, that's all. We have a quorum.
All right, good to go. Item number 2, hearing of citizens' comments. No formal CD action will be taken during this meeting, although issues raised may become a part of a future agenda. Items on the agenda may not be discussed at this time. No citizen comments? Okay, and you're on the agenda, so you're good. Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 3. Can we move for a motion for approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Moved in order. Those in favor of approval of the agenda, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard? Agenda's approved. Approval of minutes from August 24th of 2017.
Move approval.
Motion. You get a second?
Second.
You were at the meeting on the 17th.
Pardon me?
No, you were there. I mean, the 24th of August. You were at it.
I think I was.
Okay,
Everybody was there.
Motion second. Any discussion? No discussion on the minutes. Those approving signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard? Minutes are approved. Acceptance of financial statements. Item A, August 2017. Item B, fund balances. Item C, loan portfolio. Motion? Want to go to discussion first?
Move to accept.
Move to accept. Second?
Second.
All right, now we'll have a discussion. Start with financial statements. Any questions on August 17th financial statement? Go back to my notes from the last
Any
meeting.
news about those that are behind?
Steve Hatton and I met with Eversol.
Well, let's deal with the
Oh.
August 17th first, then we'll get to the fund balance and loan portfolio.
Okay.
I do have a question on statement, and I briefly brought it up, and I think I want
Here.
to make it more of a formal
Sure.
action. All of our accounts that we have, roughly $792,000 in balances, are interest-bearing accounts, correct? And I would like us to put those accounts out to try to get the highest interest rate that we can get on them. Money coming directly into the CDA. I don't know what they're currently paying, so I would like to direct, we'll seek a motion for it, but I would like to see us and first of all, you'll do a little work on checking and a call to Steve, I wanted to say Doug, to Steve, what rates we're getting, and then the information that might be of value to the banks in bidding is what the average balance of the accounts are for a long period of time. You know, if we've got a balance in an account for a couple $100,000 and we don't have a lot of activity in it, we should be able to get a little higher rate. I'm not saying that we want to put it into a 6-month CD or anything like that.
Right.
But let's make, for a sizable balance, it's, it's worth, I think, a little probably, I don't know what the rates are, I'm just making an assumption that they're probably not all that high. And I think that we really ought to because in going towards our budget, every little bit helps, so.
So these are for savings accounts or checking accounts?
Well, I think they all have check writing ability on them, I think.
I think so.
So
Yeah,
they're
because we
probably
do-
like a money market now account, but everything's negotiable. And we do have with a a new bank coming into town, I think it's a great time to put things out and let's say sell competitive, we have accounts with Citizens, Commercial, with Premier now and with Associated. And I think it's time, that you say, hey, maybe we can get a little better rate. 0.5% on a balance of $800,000 in a year is worth $4,000. I'm not saying we're gonna get 0.5% more, but I think if we don't ask, we can't get it,
You're
so.
not gonna get it.
And I think we'll just see, who wants to be more active in it, but we do need some of that information. They're gonna ask you, okay, what's, average on it, and we probably, with most of the accounts, it has to be unrestricted, meaning we can write a check for any amount at any time. And you might check, I know some of the money, and again, I don't know if these are now accounts, money market now accounts, which in the past meant you have writing privileges, but you typically don't write more than 3 checks in a month off of them, and they'll
And to
typically
keep a balance.
always keep a minimal type balance, and so.
If it's okay with the chair, unless you want to make a motion, which I don't
think
know
we
if
need to.
can, I'll just take that the direction is to get some interest rate quotes, which is going to mean taking a look at the amount of average balance, current interest rates,
Mhm.
terms that we've got with the existing banks, and then essentially I can either bring that information back to you in
Yep.
October with a recommendation.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, but you're also gonna want to, you might let the banks know
Right.
what we're doing and,
Get-
see what the
get
rate
s-
is.
yep, get
And so
some-
they understand that, because if we can, whatever amount of money, if we can get average 0.5% more, and again, I'm not saying, I know what they're paying.
Right.
I mean, if they're paying 1/100%, I think we can get our 0.5%.
I can have Karen down in the finance office,
Okay.
pull all that information together, and then it's just a simple, send that information out to the banks. Do we want to just stick with commercial and Premier
Well, Associated's already in there.
and Associated?
So,
Okay.
I
Those
don't-
three?
I don't, there used to be an unwritten policy with the local banks, but Associated's already in here, and if they're willing to
Okay.
ante up on their interest-bearing account, I don't know how the rest of the members feel, but
Is FCC,
they're a credit union.
So they're NCUA.
Yeah, and
Wait,
I don't.
Associated Bank is not a credit.
No.
Ford Community
Fort
Credit.
Community
Oh,
Credit
oh,
Union.
I'm sorry.
And I don't even know, I'm ignorant on that, but I do know they have different type of accounts that they can offer. And I don't know they can't offer at all of the same type of accounts that banks offer. And so maybe when you look in that too.
I can check into it for,
And I'm not saying we want to have it all with just one
right.
bank, but if we can get them all to be a little bit more competitive.
Yeah.
Give them all a chance.
Them all a chance.
Okay,
Okay?
great.
Fund balances, or loan portfolio. Did you have a question there, Donna?
Oh, no, what I was starting to say is then that we had met with Liz Eversole, because that was 4 of the businesses. And Steve is working on getting her some information. And basically, I think there was only one of her loans that was, the ones that are royalty investments are not due yet.
Yeah.
Because those are like basically a 5-year balloon note. And then the one that is due, which I think was V2 Leagues or Mobile Mesh, they've been paying on, so then that just left one that we were getting them going on, and I.
Is that Meeper?
Yeah. And I'll be honest, it sounds like there may have been some issues with, we weren't asking for money. In the past.
That was the statement that they made.
Yeah.
And the questions made, but I'm like, if I know I owe a mortgage
I
payment.
agree with
And it
you.
doesn't come in the mail, I still know I owe it.
Right.
But,
Same thing with the property tax bill.
yeah, my property tax bill, if it gets lost in the mail, I don't think they're gonna let me not pay it.
So, just continuing to talk to those on a priority basis. I don't know that there's really anybody that's like grossly behind or anything, so that's good. And again, going through some of these, when you look at it, the annual net revenue royalties, not concerned so much about those, although, I think as we've shared, bond board is a concern. Just
Any
because
update on them?
I've been reaching out, and I've been told, yeah, we want to talk to you, but we're just still kind of dealing with some stuff, so.
Any update on Blue Line? We're hearing good news.
Yeah, no, they're doing well. I talked with Dustin Hurdy last week. A couple of times I'm trying to get back out there to just kind of visit him on his own turf and stuff, but they've done this prototype, essentially like sort of a battery that can be mounted on a forklift and then taken from one forklift to another, so that they don't have to have a battery pack on every forklift. They can, move that around and some stuff like that. I don't totally understand it, but they've kind of gone through the proving stage with that, and they're expecting a decent order going forward out of that. So he looks like he's on a good trajectory. He's talking about if that order, if that order goes through, then needing to find some space besides where they're at. And he's got his eye on a particular building, so that's good news.
Any other news? We've been reading about Husco in the paper.
Yes.
They did mention Whitewater,
Mhm.
and so reach out to them.
Reach out to them.
Would be, make some sense. I didn't quite get it. The owner, is it Ramirez? Had been out of the country on some 1 year,
Sabbatical?
He was working, for, I think, for the White House.
For the White
on their
House. On-
Economic Council or
Yeah.
something like that.
and.
So his dad was in charge, but then he took it back.
Okay,
away.
so he's now back in, so, yeah, that's definitely, because they did mention Whitewater in, was it in the Journal Sentinel?
I saw it in the Gazette, but there was something in the Journal Sentinel, I
Okay.
think, as well.
Sunday, I thought, so.
And then I think last month I shared that I'd been out to Generac,
Mhm.
and that they, they had gotten the enterprise zone designation through WEDC, which was gonna make some money available statewide at their operations, and they're still trying to flesh out, what kind of increases that's gonna mean at which facility. So that's something that could end up with meaning some extra employment or extra stability for the existing workforce here. Either way, they're very committed to their operation here, is the
They've
message
been
I
written
had.
up in the past few weeks with all of these things that are going to the hurricane.
And ironically, the BRE visit I did out there was, I think, 3 days before the hurricane hit Houston. And he was talking about how, like, they were starting to ramp up. That's usually what they do when they see a big one like that. They'll ramp up because they know that their inventory will get run down. And they had 2 of them, so I would imagine that the misfortune in other parts of the country has been good fortune for Generac.
Anything else pop out? Any questions? All right, we had a motion and a second for acceptance of financial statements. Let's take a roll call.
I don't believe you need a roll call on
Oh, that's
that.
right, it's not approving money, we're just dealing with the statements from past.
Yeah.
Okay, so those in favor, please signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard, ayes have it, statements are accepted. Item number 6, old business.
So in your packet from last week, there was an agenda item, and starts with a memo here that I wrote up. Basically, this is closing the loop on the DOA, I don't know if we want to say audit, but it was a compliance review that was initiated earlier this year that prompted a bunch of letters to Patrick and Jeff Knight and other folks. And anyways, the last piece that they wanted taken care of was for us to have a policy on the books for how self-employment certification gets handled. And this is specifically for revolving loan fund loans where there's a job creation requirement. So attached to that memo then was a job certification / self-certification biannual requirements statement here that Pat and I developed that we sent to DOA, which received their blessing. And because we wanted to run it by them to make sure that it was in the proper form before we brought it back to you. And they said this satisfies their requirements. So the requested action tonight would be to approve that so that I can include that in the loan manual and communicate this to our existing RLF loan recipients, and then provide this information to new loan recipients going forward.
So what is, in some of these loans, they have a commitment for creating X number of new jobs.
Right.
What will our procedure be in terms of tracking that? Will it be more than just sending a form out and them telling us?
My expectation would be I would send these forms out, but then I would follow up with them on the information, and we would be matching that back against what the requirements were in the original loan. And if they're meeting them, fine. If they're not meeting them, then that would be something that would be brought back to the CDA so we could discuss possible solutions to that. I think in the case of some of the loans, and I have not reviewed every detail of every loan, but there may be some, not penalties, but higher interest rates that kick in if they don't meet certain benchmarks and so on. So we would review the compliance versus the original loan.
Okay, now, question?
No, I'm just gonna move approval.
Okay.
Second.
Motion second.
So it was Singer and
Singer
Parker.
and Parker, second. Any roll call?
Nope, just simple voice.
Those in favor, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard?
I
Motion is approved.
realize that it's a federal requirement about 51% of the jobs being created or retained filled by persons who meet the county low to moderate income standards. I don't think that's totally realistic in many places, in many situations. It's nothing that we can change, but from everything I hear, and I've got a son and 2 grandsons who are involved in hiring, and many places are looking for welders and machinists and people like that. They're not gonna be in the low to moderate unless they're out of work
Mhm.
totally, but there are jobs out there. They tell me it's just a matter of not being able to find people to fill them.
Right.
And nowadays, with more computer knowledge, experience, all of that being required, the people that are in the low to moderate income bracket can't just always fill those jobs. But I mean, this is something I realize that we have no.
Right, and I
no
guess,
say-so about.
I guess since you're bringing that up, one thing I would point out to you that was, we talked to DOA about this, and they had us change up some of the original language that was in there. And basically, they pointed out that the jobs created in regards to these kinds of loans cannot require special skills above the high school level. So the jobs that are created have to be, in other words, available to people that might be low and moderate income and not necessarily skilled beyond high school. So they have to be jobs that folks without anything past a high school education can compete and be eligible for.
And that's what I'm saying, I
Right.
don't think is realistic, because people need more skills now for the jobs that are out there.
Right, and again, if a company is adding, say, 20 jobs, and we give them a loan for $100,000 based on $20,000 a job, that just means that that 5 of their jobs have to fit this kind of requirement. The other 25 could be whatever. So typically what you'd see is a mix, but you could see one where somebody's creating 5 new jobs, in which case if they're getting the 100,000, they'd have, all of those jobs would have to meet that requirement. So if you can't meet that requirement, then
They don't
yeah.
have the money.
Or you get part of the money, so.
Okay, let's move to new business. Item number 7, discussion, possible action, request for facade loan from Randall Ashbrenner for improvements to the landmark building at 204 West Main Street, Whitewater, Wisconsin.
Mr. Ashbrenner's,
Mr. Ashbrenner is here.
and his application was
It's
in
in
your
the packet.
packet from last week. I will pass this out. There was a letter that Randy had drafted by Jim Caldwell at First Citizens. I don't know if it's really a support letter so much as it's a statement of what's going on.
Yeah.
Letter. And I don't know, Randy, you wanna explain what your application is and what you're seeking from us?
The priorities right now are the roof and the windows, and with the new windows comes tuck pointing first to make sure the window ledges, the concrete ledges, there's about 20 of them out of the 86 windows that I want to replace. That the mason work should be taken care of in those areas so the windows can be put in properly. With this time of year, I can still get a window company to probably have windows installed within the next 90 days. And the roof and windows are priority 1 and 1A. And I did talk to the Landmark Commission back in July, and I was considering a metal roof, but the more I think about it, I'm going to stick with an asphalt shingle roof and just improve drastically the venting of the roof. It has absolutely zero venting right now, which is making the roof fail way accelerated beyond, its years. The windows right now are hodgepodge of many replacement windows from previous owners. I'm not sure if there's got to be 10 different brands of windows in there right now. So I think the biggest impact would be the windows right now, especially with the winter coming up, especially with this heat too. The function of just operating the windows right now, they don't even stay up. Most of the storms are missing. I want to make sure I'm in compliance with weatherization guidelines. And so basically, I was requesting, that 140 to $150,000 range. I know that's much higher than what usually is even asked for in this area. But I'm just asking for anything that would, the windows alone would be in the $50,000 to $60,000 range. I'd at least like to just bite off that for now. I do have a few options coming up privately for some funding. I'm just waiting for some money to come to me. So any loan, no matter what the dollar amount, I'm hoping that it'd be a 3 to 5 year payback.
Do you know the restrictions, or I should say how the facade loan program works? Have you looked at it?
A little bit, yes.
Okay. And you might explain to us a little bit, payback, interest rate, things like that?
I don't recall if the interest rate was set or if you have control over that. I thought it was a 4%.
I thought it was 4.
Yeah.
And I got a question regarding on a land contract.
Mhm.
Bob's still technically the owner of the property?
Technically, no. He's the vendor for the land contract.
Okay.
I mean, with the land contract, I'm on the deed.
Okay. In our program, under the current, did you have a section? Did you bring the section of the,
I did not bring the manual.
okay, do you have it next door?
I can go get a copy.
Because I'm going off memory. I think we currently have a limit on per loan application of $15,000.
That's what I saw. I
Right.
saw the 4% at 15,000.
15 at 4. Do we have any idea when it was written? When we wrote up those rules?
A long time ago.
I think it was early mid-2000s, if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay. And when it was originally written up, was it, I mean, we haven't done a good job of marketing the program. There's no question in that, because a lot of people don't even know it exists. And I believe the money is for the city-wide, right? It's not just the
Yeah.
downtown
Yeah.
area. But I would, because it's kind of outdated, the amount of money, we only have a total of 100 and,
It's $145,000 in checking and a $20,000 CD.
okay, so at 160. I wouldn't be opposed to raising it from 15 to more, updating it, inflation, things like that, maybe 20, 25,000.
Yeah.
But I personally would, because you're literally talking about the entire amount that's in that program.
Right, absolutely.
And although you're the only one here tonight, there has been some other chatter on it. And again, we have to apologize because the city hasn't done a good job of letting people know that it's out there. But I would, if we would have, let's have some more discussion on it, but I wouldn't have a problem raising it to 25,000, maybe.
And is
20.
that then is that 25, would that be 25,000 total that you're thinking of?
Again, I don't have the manual in front of me, but going off the memory after having looked at it, was 25 per property? Is that what it was? It's 15 per property now, or per loan application, right? Is that what it says?
Per property, I believe.
Per property, so to raise that, to a number, I guess it's up some debate over,
15 doesn't
Oh, you have
Yeah,
Randy's
got
got
it.
it.
I've got it there.
Yeah.
But what does it take to raise that? Do we have to take a official action, amend that document?
does that
or-
go through council?
No, that's here.
Okay,
15,000
Yeah,
per
that's-
eligible building.
okay, so per property?
And those are.
Or per building on the property, there's only one building on that property?
Yep. Well, there's a detached garage, or a shed, or whatever you wanna call it.
Yeah, that thing's being leveled here soon.
Just gonna knock it down?
Yeah, it's really bad.
Okay. Well, I don't know.
I mean, my understanding was those were guidelines. I don't know that there's any requirements other than what you put in there, and I don't
Do you guys want to
know
brief
that
this
there's,
at all, or?
I don't know that there's a
I think
process
with
that
the
you have to
numbers.
follow to.
And I agree with Larry, I mean, I think increasing it to help Randy out makes sense, but then maybe make that the new standard.
Yeah.
Because, and have Dave maybe look at, when was that originally adopted, and then,
Is there a date on the front of that one, Randy? I thought there was. No?
Or on the last page.
I thought the date was on there somewhere. It's,
No.
There's a bunch of signature spots on the bottom of that form, the last page.
What's the date of the signatures?
7.
Just my signature's on here, though.
Oh, that's-
So
that's
yeah,
it.
No, that's your app.
That's a
yeah,
credit
so let
application.
me try and go to the back.
it's not a huge deal.
Appendix A.
On here, we have one from, oh, that's not it. So, yeah, if we got guidelines, I mean,
15,000 doesn't go very far. I don't think that's
So-
realistic.
25, raising it, that'd be 60% increase,
Yeah.
2/3 increase. I know that's not total what you want, but that would be, it would help you.
Yeah, my lender wanted, he knew about the program and wanted me to exhaust this option first, so
Well,
I'm prepared to.
If you don't ask, you can't get it.
Right, no, I.
No problem with that whatsoever.
I went into this knowing that it was gonna be a tough few years.
Mhm.
Just getting to where I want it to be, but, I do have some funding coming. It's just, I had no intention of buying this property up until almost December of, January basically of 2017. It came on the market. I wasn't gonna buy it unless he was willing to do some seller financing for me.
Who's running the bar in there now?
It's
Nobody?
Jeff, Shelfifer.
Shelfifer.
Yeah.
So it's still in there.
Yeah, he's,
How many total apartments are in the building?
there's 18.
Are they all similar? Are they all?
Yeah, in fact, that's one of the things that drew me to it. Besides the cosmetic TLC needed, it's the room sizes are. I don't need to adjust any walls.
Mhm.
It's a matter of flooring and cabinetry and swapping out plumbing fixtures.
Now, when Jim Miller bought that many years ago, I believe he got some historical money. And Richard, as long as you're here, we'll take advantage of you. I don't believe there's anything available for that anymore, but, and maybe I'm wrong on Jim, but,
I don't know about Jim. I do know that every year, the state puts money into that fund.
mhm.
And the money's given out as tax credits.
Okay.
Covers facade elements, windows, doors, roof, HVAC.
So that's something
wiring.
that he could apply to?
And we discussed this with Randy
Okay.
at Landmarks and offered to support him in investigating and putting in his
Okay.
offer. You can put in, each year, you can put in an offer for another portion of it.
Is it a loan or a grant?
It's a grant
That's
given
even
out
better.
as tax credits
Mhm.
over, depending upon different sizes,
Mhm.
how many years. And I
So-
think there's some that you have to stay with the property for so many years as well,
Okay.
so.
That's good, you've already talked to them, because that's something worth exploring too. A grant's better than a loan.
That was once not a bad looking building. I would be happy to see some improvements made and, it's right down there on Main Street. It's too bad to have it look like it does now.
It's affecting the day-to-day operation of the place. I mean, no matter who you attract to that building, it's just staring everyone in the face, and it's a
Big building.
it's a health issue too, because it's going to turn into doors are being propped open because it's too hot, or in the winter, the heating system's super uneven, which the minute it gets cold out, it's being addressed. It's hard to test right now. But, he did actually make a lot of updates, just not in the areas that people can see.
Mhm.
The wiring, the service in there, the electrical service in there, and all the wiring, except for a couple storage areas in the basement, have all been updated. And most of the plumbing's been updated. And like I said, it's
Those
just,
things would have to be done really before
Yeah.
the outside.
Yeah.
You've got to, for the running of the building, you need those done.
and I went into this, I'm not taking any funds from this for living at all, or, for any business. It's all going back in. That was very clear with Jim Caldwell at the bank when we started this, that, I'm single, I live very, very tight with my budget, and just, that's pretty much in a nutshell. This is a long-term deal. I know a lot of people down here have seen me buy and sell a couple properties, but, I made a decision to make this my full-time job, so.
That's good.
And I talked to a couple landlords years ago about buying a 24 unit, and this one came up. That's why I couldn't pass it up. But the amount of work that it needs is frustrating, because I like things to be nice. It just makes it 10 times easier to manage the property. But
You can't rent it if it's.
that's the thing, you can, and there's a market
Well,
for it, and
you're
I
not
don't
gonna
understand.
get decent
I don't understand why there were so many empty units, or previous owners didn't address some simple things. So, because it's a lot of it's pretty simple.
But if it's a mess, tenants are not gonna take care
Yeah.
of it either, so.
Right. Yeah, it starts at the top, and I need to show them. You can discuss, talk to people over there. They're very happy with what I'm doing so far, but it's just a drop in the bucket of what needs to be done.
What needs to be.
And it's just going to take too long to build up the funds or sell off something else, which I think doesn't help me at all. So, and I talked to the bank, and they said, he knows about these programs. Like, you really need to talk to these guys first, and then we'll address the balance after we find out what we can do.
I did a walkthrough with Randy, probably about 5-6 weeks ago. And then I met with Randy and Jim Caldwell, and I did explain the facade loan program and what the limitations were on it. And so you knew that with putting the application in. Question for you, Randy. Are there any utility incentives available for the weatherization, the new windows and stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, I assume if there are, you're looking at
Yeah.
that too. but-
Somebody from the downtown Whitewater contacted me.
Lisa Smith.
There might be a girl that's,
Lisa Smith.
It was Lisa?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of
Courtney?
another name. Okay.
Courtney?
Lisa.
With Lisa. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you and I went down and talked with Courtney.
Courtney,
Okay,
yes. Yeah, Courtney and I have been talking to each other, and but there's somebody else. So I know Lisa sounds familiar, but there's one other person. But lots been brought up about the utilities, and I'm actually going to be separating the bar furnaces. There's 3 furnaces, and have them on his own meter.
Mhm.
And with that, I've had some discussions with We Energies about what they can offer too. I actually got an email sent to me from a guy out of the Milwaukee office
Okay.
a couple weeks ago. So and this is all landing right now with the student housing market, where I'm spending the most of October releasing stuff for next year already. So it's just been a whirlwind for me, and I want to stay small. I want to be a no employee situation, and so all this.
Buy a
big
few
stuff.
more of these, you won't be able to.
Right, I know, and a lot of the big work that's going to be done on Landmark Building, I'm not touching. I mean, it's all hired out. I just I'm trying to take care of the small, no-brainer stuff right now.
So in talking with We Energies, did they bring up focus on energy?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, and they sent me several
That's what
links.
I was-
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, I've talked to Focus on Energy in the past through MG&E, through Madison. It's I'm going to readdress it. It was 10 years ago last time I talked to them. So, and I had a lot newer stuff. And, yeah.
Well, what do we want? We want to bump it up and make a provision for future a guideline limit.
I don't mind bumping it up. I'd like to see maybe a little bit different between a historic building at facade loan, how much we give, versus a non-historic building. Because if there's money available through historic credits,
Mhm.
and some of the other buildings aren't in that program, maybe we can give them more money versus the ones that can't get the credits, or the historic credits, tax credits. So maybe like 20 versus 25, or?
I don't know if we can legally separate that building, whether it's got historical status or not, but I do agree with you if they have
Okay.
other options. I mean, because you'd rather have a grant than a loan anyway.
Right.
And, and maybe we just, since we're all going off of guidelines, you don't have any hard set requirements or black and white rules, or, we can still do it case by case, but I don't have a problem with bumping up our guideline number to 25,000. 15, just to reflect the times a little bit. I mean, that's a pretty healthy increase. And still have, available for other businesses. While you're interested, you wanna look at the property, Kitty Corner?
And I think the tax credits are available, it goes by the age of the building, if it's over so many.
Is that
It
correct,
doesn't
Richard?
matter whether it's a landmark or not, I think.
Well, I don't know about other programs.
For historic tax
For the
credits.
for historically designated properties, it has to be an historic.
Okay, but there are tax credits also available when I did the building on the bridge. As long as it was built before thus and so date, you had some pretty good tax credits with it.
I think some of those ran out.
Did they? Okay.
Yeah, that's
that's
why
been a
that's why I
while.
have a date on them. They're trying to stimulate the growth in a short period of time. Now, maybe they redid them.
Yeah, I don't know.
And I don't know.
I haven't had occasion to use it since then, so.
Okay, well, do we want to make a motion here?
So move to approve the facade loan with the amendment from 15,000 to 25,000 on the application.
And to make
Update.
that our new guideline number?
Go through our application, our guidelines and update it.
Second.
Moved and seconded?
Do you want to, do we need to set an interest rate? Or do we just, I think what's stated in there is 4%.
Yes.
I
So
would.
25K at 4%?
Yeah.
For a period of 5 years?
What is it in there now? Does it, are
Does
the
the
loan?
guidelines say anything in there?
It's page 7, I think it was, in this facade loan program. And I still haven't seen a date on here when it was drafted.
Right.
It's 4%. The term maximum will be 7 years.
So you have max of 7 years, what do you want?
Loan terms will be negotiated by the CDA director with input from facade loan committee.
That sounds.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So
I
so
don't
far I
know.
have 25K at 4% for what term?
7 years?
Okay,
That's fine.
got it all? Second that with the amendment? All right.
And then it's, and then make a revision to the guidelines.
Yep.
To bump up the max to 25K. I think the rest of the stuff, interest rate and term, are addressed in there, what our sort of max guidelines are. You're not looking at any changes with that, right?
Okay.
Is that stuff current though? Interest rate and all that?
We use that rate for other programs too.
I think that's a fairly competitive interest rate.
Yeah,
so.
because that's gonna be, we're not gonna ask you what rate you got on your property, but
Then the other
be higher than that.
question, is this an automatic payment,
We can.
direct
we
deposit
can
type
require
payment that we've been starting? That we
Yeah, I like
started on
that,
other
yeah.
loans?
Yes.
That's the way I do everything.
Yes.
When's the last time we did a facade loan? Were you on the committee? I don't remember any since I've been on.
I think it's been quite a while.
So-
I don't remember it.
And
It's
you-
kind of in the early days of downtown Whitewater.
I don't remember when the last downtown Whitewater facade loan was, or,
It was to what's her name's store, clothing store woman.
oh, by Berry Jewelry,
Yeah.
Taco Bell?
No, farther down the street. She has that purple awning still that she put on.
Oh.
Or left in laws
I think that-
Okay. Since we were dispensing funds, let's have a roll call.
Ketchel.
Aye.
Singer.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Henry.
Aye.
Let's have it. So, and you'll set up the procedure for the automatic transfer.
Yep. We'll
And
put
and you'll have to
together-
give them, does Steve have to figure out what it'll be, monthly payment?
Yep. We'll have
For 7 years?
amortization.
You probably have a good ballpark idea what
Okay.
do you have any
Oh,
questions on that issue?
so Chris Munz Pritchard did want me to remind you that you need to run the plans through
Okay.
whoever needs to run through. I told her, we're simply considering granting, or I mean, not granting a loan.
Do we, approval of the plans?
We don't need to approve the plans.
Landmark commission.
but I just wanted to remind him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Downtown Whitewater, as well as Landmarks Commission, both groups are very positive about supporting Randy
Mhm.
and rehabbing this building. We don't want it to end up like the White Elephant, and something has to be done with it.
I simply asked Chris to reach out to you, and I don't know if she has in the
Yeah.
last week or so, but I thought I would remind you of that. That
Yeah.
what we're doing is we're granting the loan. I shouldn't keep using grant and loan in the same sentence. Authorizing a loan, but then the details of what you need to do need to be.
Yeah. Chris and I were emailing each other today about something else,
Okay.
but Troy with the inspection office and I were talking, he actually passed the message on too, so,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
All right, brings us to item 8, discussion possible action regarding CDA 2018 budget recommendation to Common Council. Thanks, Randy. Hey, Richard.
All right, so 'tis the season for budget. And what I thought I'd do is run this by the CDA, even though the council approves the final budget and approves the amounts where the budget comes from. So if you want, what I can do is just kind of run you through, starting at the top here with revenues. Obviously, you can see interest income is not a huge portion of our budget right now. So
I think we're getting all of the 800,000.
yeah. Well, and again, so Larry, what I don't know on this is whether or not this is just for, this might just be from the general administration, sort of the small, small checkbook versus the loan program checkbook. Those other funds
Well-
may be going back into those loan programs. So these I believe are probably on like general administration checkbook here. I forget which account it is.
1/10 of 1% generate $800.
Yeah, so I don't think that this is.
Okay.
This is not our
Good.
big,
Yeah, we're looking at
big
it.
line accounts. Yeah. So if you look at the 2017 budget column, and then if you look at the, oh, and I didn't put this over here. I thought I did. Anyway, yeah, I guess I didn't complete the last column there. But at any rate, what we have coming in this year for funding the program is $75,000 from TIF 4, $25,000 from TIF 6. City funds of $90,000, and then there was a $10,000 fund balance applied. That was from the CDA operating funds that carry over year to year.
Those are the same numbers that'll go in 18?
Well, so the reason I didn't put something in the 18 budget column here, if you look down at the expenditures underneath here, as things stand here, there was expenditures proposed of $157,533, but that does not include page 2 here, which is a budget initiative, and this is the way Steve Hatton and Cameron wanted these listed. This is a budget initiative to hire a CDA economic development specialist, which is the name I gave to the proposed part-time assistant. And what I did here, just as a starting point, was price that out at up to 20 hours a week at a hourly rate of pay of $18.50 plus fringe benefits. And the number here kind of gets boosted up because I was informed by Karen Dieter in payroll that if it's a 20-hour-a-week position, then it would be eligible for health insurance, and that could potentially be a $10,000 cost. So
City employees are eligible for health insurance at 20 hours rather than
apparently
30?
Apparently.
I know pension kicks in at 20.
Yeah, apparently. So this, just so you know, this is, that's priced out at $18.50, and then the fringe benefits and so on. So I did get a question from her when I was asking her to put some numbers together here as to why the salary, or why the pay rate would be $18.50. And I said, because I think that the expectation that we would have that there'd be a little higher level, skill level than just a clerical position.
Somebody got a little bit of a finance or economic development background.
And what I thought we would do is take pieces of Tom Harrigan's position description to start with formulating a position description here. But that's as I said, it's not like we're hiring, a lifeguard at $12 an hour or whatever.
Mhm.
I think there's a little bit stronger skill set there. So I'm confident with that salary or that hourly rate that I think we could attract somebody to the position. It's just with the benefits,
How did we pay Tom? Hourly, or, remember?
I think he was a full-time salary
Full-time
position,
salary.
just at a lower rate than what we are compensating the director at.
Right.
Yeah, I
But
mean, it
he
was a
had
higher
everything
level
else.
position.
Yeah,
I want to
everything
say
else.
if I remember correctly, his salary was in the mid-40s.
I think like 45, somewhere around 45
Right.
rings it
Right.
up.
Okay. So, and this does read at a maximum of 1850, so it's not
Right.
like if we are unsuccessful finding somebody that has the additional finance or economic development background.
So then if you brought that number back to the front page here with 31,000 and added that to the 157 in expenditures, which I'll run through those real quick with you,
Mhm.
that would be 188. So the 188 and 533. So then the proposal would still be to put the 75,000 in from TIF 4, the 25,000 in from TIF 6, and then the balance that we'd need would have to come from city fund and or the fund balance applied.
That'd be 121 something.
So with the TIF there, we'd still be looking at 88,533. So if that was all from city contribution, the contribution from the city actually would go down slightly from the 90,000 this year. And I know Steve said that in the overall budget picture, what was it, 90,000, 80, 90,000 short to start overall city budget?
Yeah, Cameron gave me a different number last night. There's a big gap.
Yeah, there was a gap. So
There's a gap on the revenue side and a gap on the expense side. That
Right.
was about half a million.
so if we didn't apply any.
That wasn't planned for? How did it appear?
Cameron explained it, there's about 300,000 in additional expenses year over year, but that can be trimmed. I mean, that's citywide. I mean, that's
Okay.
not necessarily the CDA impacting.
Sure.
And then there's about 200,000 of revenue that has kind of been always there that we usually just we draw down or give less to our sinking funds. But I think the concern is how long can you do that without
Right.
having longer?
Can't
So I
be
think,
priority.
Steve's looking at how do we address that head on in a more sustainable way. But that also then competes with those dollars for everywhere else.
So from the council point of view, as one council member, see any issues with this?
I think we want to maintain the same level of support we have to the CDA. I mean, obviously, if there's a little bit of trimming that can happen, that helps everybody. But I think we've definitely tried to make that investment in the CDA by bringing Dave on. We need to give him the support he needs to be able to do the job, so.
So in putting this budget together, what I did is I did look at, what was the level of support for 2017, from all sources. And then did look at reallocating the current expenditures to stay at or below the overall level of spending and thus the contributions that would be coming from the city. And I think we accomplished that. I mean, if you look at adding that 31,000 in expenditures, that brings us up to 188,533, or in other words, a budget that's about 11,500 less. And if we didn't apply any fund balance and we just relied on the city for that other 88,533, that's still an overall decrease. And I don't know what that percentage works out to, but it's 5%.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but our consultant fees that were
That's
already budgeted will be less than that
I didn't include any consultant. Oh, you mean for,
for 17.
yes.
That doesn't really have any effect on our 18 budget, though.
No, it doesn't,
And it's
'cause
not
there's
like there's
nothing there.
money that carries over.
No, we
To,
won't, we won't carry that over.
Okay, it is what it is, and it probably
It's
less
just-
than that number.
Yeah, again, what I looked at, it said, we had 90,000, yeah, so actually, we'll finish the year closer to this 160,000 total in expenditures.
200.
Than the 200.
Okay.
But then for next year, obviously, we're proposing an increase over what we'll end this year at. And that's just because we've been in transition here.
Do you think that you find someone with the requirements you're talking about willing to work just 20 hours a week? That they might, it seems to me they might be looking for
I think it's possible, yeah.
We'll give them full-time at 9.
When the first year I worked in Columbus, I worked for 30 hours a week, because I was doing some other stuff. So I do think it's possible that you could find somebody
Well,
that.
but it's also possible you could get somebody that has a split job.
Has
Right.
two,
Yep.
intends to work 2 jobs.
Well, right, maybe for the, I mean, if something opened over there, we've done that before in here, where somebody works for part-time CDA, part-time for the city.
Right.
Okay.
For some other group, I mean, we don't know, but, I mean, there isn't a need for somebody 40 hours, we don't think.
No, I understand that, but I was just thinking that if you're looking for someone with a little bit more ability, experience, whatever.
We would urge you to apply.
No way.
Let me walk through the rest of the budget here. So expenditures, you can see the salary line reflects a bump up because that's a full year of salary. Fringe benefits number is, I gotta double check that, but that's a full year fringe benefits, and I don't know why 13.5 was what was listed in for 2017, but this was the number that Karen gave me for 2018. Professional development, I did put in an increase there, and that is to reflect adding an IEDC membership and sending me to the annual IEDC conference next year in Atlanta, where I'll be taking the Certified Economic Developer exam. Consultant fees, you can see that line is zeroed out.
Who is that right now?
Who is what?
Or
Pat.
who, that's Pat, only
That's-
Pat, or?
That's Pat and only Pat.
Okay.
Legal services, I bumped up to 15,000. I didn't put a notation there because it really wasn't much of a difference. Well, it is a difference from 2017, and I don't know that we're really gonna spend 15, but I did look historically at 14, 15, 16, and maybe that's just because we had more things going on with royalty agreements with Catalyst and all that stuff, but I thought I would rather be safe than sorry.
But you also had with Mitch,
Yeah.
the last year and a half, he did very little, he wasn't able to do it, and so 16 was the last full year, no, 15 actually.
So I thought I'd put that number at what looks like close to a historic, a 4 or 5 year historical level. Professional services, this is noted in E down there. My thought there was that we may need some assistance with advertising and marketing material, design and production. I do anticipate doing some more marketing type pieces and efforts next year. Audit fees, I left at about 4,000, which again looks like what we had, a little bit more than we had budgeted in 16 and 17. Item F, what I did is I combined line 323, which is another marketing piece that you see down there. There were 2 different marketing expenditure lines, and I don't know why that is. I simply combined those and gave that a little bit of a bump. So the 22 on line 223 and the 5 on line 323 I combined and bumped them up to 30,000 from 27,000. County and Regional Economic Development, leaving that the same. That's our money for Walworth and Jefferson County. Mobile communications, I guess this is my cell phone. Office supplies, postage.
How's the cell phone go up from 300 to 900?
Well, I just had it for part of a year, partially.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's not reflecting, okay.
Yeah, right.
Consultant didn't have it.
Right.
Okay.
And then the only other piece, and this is, this is notable here, in line 330 travel expense, I did bump that up quite a bit because if you look, the 2017 budget, I'm not sure why that was 750. If you look at the monthly financials, we've gone over that quite a bit, and I haven't even submitted any mileage or travel expenses since I've been here. Pat said he wasn't doing any traveling, so he didn't put any money in the budget. I just want to reflect that I am going to claim mileage when I go up places, and if I travel to conferences, like next year to Atlanta.
Not commuting mileage.
No, not commuting mileage. This is mileage. And to be honest with you, if I'm in town here, I'm not going to put in a mileage claim. But if I go up to Jefferson or if I go to Elkhorn Or if I go up to Elkhart Lake, like I'm going this week for the WEDA conference, I will charge for that, so. And then that travel line also includes meals and hotel when you travel.
Okay.
So I bumped that in because that's gonna have to cover airfare and so on.
Any questions, comments?
So I guess what I'd be looking at is, you know, if you felt okay with that being our recommendation, I've already got it into Steve and Cameron, but if you had any changes, then I'd certainly put that in. Next step is finance.
Cameron will introduce it to
Tuesday.
council early, at council on Tuesday, and then the finance committee in October will meet 3 different
Okay.
sessions to go over it. I don't know which day's yours, but
It's in an email that
Steve was coordinating all of that. It'll be one of those days.
Do we need to take any action?
Um,
I don't think so.
I don't think so, unless there's any objections. If you wanted to, you could recommend sending this budget on.
Why?
I don't, any objection?
Any objection to
No.
sending the budget out? Okay. Item number 9, adjourn to closed session for Wisconsin State Statutes 19.85 sub 1 sub E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public property, invest public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Sub C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, and performance evaluation data of any public employer of which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. Item A, update on negotiations with potential retail, manufacturing, and other businesses that are considering locating in the city of Whitewater and request the city of Whitewater related financial assistance or concessions. Item B, review responses to legal services RFP.
Second.
Motion and seconded, roll call.
Cashel.
Aye.
Singer.
Aye.
Parker.
Aye.
Henry.
All right, now in closed section. I'll reconvene in open session, to take action on closed session items as needed. No action is needed. Item number 11, future agenda referrals. Any?
Just, I'd like to see city staff work on some promotion maps, or whatever you want to call it, informational maps that will help us attract businesses, help us track companies or whatever. I know over the past few months, we've talked about, you know, how close is it to the bypass on 26, or how close is it to Madison or Milwaukee or Janesville or Newville now. But that would be interesting to see, like a 5, 10, 20, 25 mile radius that we can come up with a map showing for future development, for future businesses and that.
Is that a marketing?
Marketing tool or something.
Yeah, it would be something we'd use in marketing materials.
Yep.
Okay.
And then part of that would be another map. Back a few months ago or last year, early this year, I took the DOT traffic counts for the city of Whitewater. And pretty much they showed the city itself, and it showed like from April, traffic counts in April throughout the city, March, May, June, and some other months that were included in that. I'd like to see us do a map of that, showing the entire city, plus like Highway P coming in from the lake, Highway 59, 89, which could be also part of that marketing tool. And that way they could see traffic when the university's here, traffic when the university's not here. And it'd be nice to see something at our next meeting, but we don't have to get a major discussion on it because we're doing goals and objectives in that meeting, but at least have
Be
it
part
there
of
to, at least to look at it.
Right, so, excellent ideas, and they're actually on my list of marketing type pieces or collateral for marketing. Some of that information Scott over in GIS can help
Yep.
pull together. I do think that one of the main things, and it's not something certainly I'm gonna have all pulled together by next month, but the idea really is, and I had brought it last week for our discussion on goal setting, but there is like a 4-page, flyer type thing that we had done before. They had some maps, not to that level of detail. That collateral piece needs to be replaced and put, I'm not sure I'm gonna do it in the exact same format, but those things that you're talking about, Bruce, would be the kinds of things that would be included with that.
Yeah, because that's one of the things I've heard
Yep.
through my 30-some years here when I was working with developers. And lot of stuff that I've been
Yeah.
hearing from people since I retired from the city, that they don't know about this information. They're trying to find that information. And even some businesses that are here now wish that they would have seen some of that. But like, you know, it's not up to us to give them everything.
Right.
It's up to them to do their due diligence too, but the more information we can give a development or the business or whatever, the better off we might be on getting that development here.
Yeah.
Or filtering out some that just
Okay.
have a good fit.
Right,
Yeah.
and actually some of these responses to development proposals that I've had to make since I've been here, we don't have that information right at our fingertips, so I've had to do it kind of ad hoc and have put together some custom maps, which isn't a bad thing either, because then it's specifically to that business. But it would be good to have stuff that's just sort of ready to go or in a flyer. And we need to do some of that for some other marketing materials that we place, whether they're in Site Selector magazines or whatever, so.
Because some of that same information, you know, last year or this year, we tried doing that shovel ready. This should be part of that packet.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because a lot of businesses that, you know, they may be looking at other businesses to help them supply them. And this way they can show their people.
That's gonna change the traffic counts a lot, and then I went over to that meeting about the construction they're gonna do on
Clay.
Elkhorn Road, going out to the bypass. That's gonna change a lot of things for the next couple of years.
Okay. I would, before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I would like to adjourn tonight's meeting in honor of Mitch Simon, recently departed Mitch Simon of many years, put in many countless hours on behalf of the CDA, the City Council, and in promoting real estate development from the private side in the community. As I mentioned at his funeral, nobody had his hands in more things, development in the community than did Mitch, so.
He
Motion to
was-
adjourn.
He was community-minded, all 110%.
And he didn't ever charge us
Yeah.
really for,
Never
you
sent the
know,
real bills.
what he could have. Yeah.
Work 10, send you a bill for 7.
Yeah, even if you hired Mitch, you were getting every dime worth of
Yeah.
effort.
Yep.
All right, we get a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
We're done.